friends, to our very last week of Upset the Vows, week 9. We made it. We made it. This has been 9 long weeks, but enjoyable, informative. And you know what? I'm so glad you joined us. Thank you, first of all, for all your comments, all your feedback, all your questions, all your support, for just joining us in this really intimate series. And so I want to thank you again for giving us one more week of your time. And this week, closing it out, you know, we have my favorite Timmy. He's here with me. And we have another special guest that I want you to just be prepared for. She has the greatest name on the planet. Her name is Jenna Mountain. Woo! Come on, Jenna Mountain. So who knows anybody with the last name Mountain? You are a first.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jenna, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Well, let me tell you who she is. She is a licensed counselor. She is a sex therapist and a sex educator. So she's full of a bunch of sex.
Full of sex.
Full of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Or she's going to teach us all how to be successful at it. I'm not sure. But today she's here with us, and this week is the very last week, as we said, week 9, and the subject that Tim was talking about on Sunday, which everybody's been waiting for, was on the topic of sex, and the title was Glorious Sex.
Glorious.
You did a tremendous job on Sunday, honey,
baby.
and Jenna was there. Jenna was in the
Yes.
service to make sure he was saying everything he was supposed to.
Keep him in line.
Yes, yes, yes. How did you feel about Sunday's word?
I felt good, baby.
Yeah.
Like I felt, you know, just over the last 9 weeks that
Yeah.
I've honored God and his people
Yep.
by teaching what
Yeah.
he told me to teach,
Yep.
the way he told me to teach it,
Yeah.
and then allowing the Holy Spirit to do the rest, right? Like I'm not responsible for how the people receive it and
Yep.
how they grow from it, but we trust that the Holy Spirit does his work after we are obedient to do what he tells us to do. So
Yeah, listen.
that's what I did.
It was exhaustive.
It was.
It was extensive.
It was extensive.
And it was detailed.
It was detailed.
I can say in all the years that I've been in church, that I've grown up in church, I can say that I have never heard a pastor or leader speak extensively like this. And not that I know every pastor or leader or have heard every sermon, but in the circles that I've been in and in the sermons I've heard, I've never heard a pastor on a Sunday morning speak extensively on a subject like this and touch on topics that would seem so taboo like you have. And I'm not being biased, but I just want to commend you again,
Thank you,
sweetheart.
baby.
You did an
Thank you.
amazing,
Thank you.
amazing job.
Thank you.
And we're living in times where it is, it's needed, and it's needed for the church to talk about. Now, I don't want to go any further without acknowledging this beautiful set. Guys,
Roses.
listen, the team is amazing. I just feel like confetti. You know,
Yes.
like these are beautiful, beautiful set design. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Marcine, for your set design. Good job. This week, you talked about glorious sex.
Glorious sex.
We started in 1 Corinthians 7.
Right.
Okay, you read about what, 5 verses, 6 verses?
Yeah, 5 verses.
5 verses.
1 through 5.
Okay.
Yep.
And so we're going to start there. I want everybody to know that I remixed his points again, and I'm really excited about my remix that I did. I'm really hyped about it. So I hope you're ready for the remix
I'm
points.
ready for the remix.
Okay. All right. Now, you talked about how glorious sex should be and how when we are intimate with our spouse, that we are really revealing the image of God.
Right.
Jenna, was that true? Did he lie?
Whoa. Wow.
I love my role in
You
this.
love your role in this. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. I'm not challenging you to say if you lied or not. I'm just
I
joking.
love that though.
Yeah,
I really do. I think because sex has historically been taboo in the church, we have failed to allow what we know about God and about Christ speak into our sex lives, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
We can learn things about God in how we experience sex.
Yeah.
And so I love that point. It was one of my
Thank you.
favorites.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It was really good.
Thank you.
So, Timmy, when you were there, you broke down 1 Corinthians, the first 5 verses. Give us a recap.
So the first 5 verses of 1 Corinthians chapter number 7
Yes.
is Paul actually answering a question
Yep.
that was written to him.
That's right.
So think about
He did a Q&A.
Yeah, the Q&As that we've been doing.
That's right.
All of these weeks is no different than what happened with Paul.
It's biblical.
It is biblical,
Yeah.
right? So all of these Corinthians were giving their life to Jesus, and what I don't think most people understand is that you give your life to Jesus, and all of you comes with you.
That's
into
right.
a relationship with him.
That's right.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yep.
So they bring all this brokenness in their lives, in their emotions, in their sexuality. So they start asking Paul a question like, should we get married? Should we be single and celibate? Like, what should we do? And so it actually starts off with him saying, hey, based on the letter you wrote me, let me answer this question.
Yes.
And he says, I think it's good that everybody remains single. But
Right.
because there's so much sexual immorality, let every man choose a woman and every woman choose a man to get married to.
That's right.
And then let them fulfill
That's right.
each other's sexual needs for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
That was his remedy.
Yeah.
And so marriage was the remedy to sexual immorality, right? Not safe sex,
Right.
using a condom,
Yes.
having multiple partners and a mutual understanding
That's
that we have an open relationship.
That's right.
It was, hey, okay, so you guys come into this relationship with Jesus, you still have a high sex drive or you still want to experience sex. The solution is marriage. And this is the way that you're going to be able to deal with it. And I think being able to just articulate that on Sunday was a big deal.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that have questions about their sexuality and their sex drives.
That's right.
And so I just wanted to walk them through the passages that were relevant to them.
Yeah, you did a tremendous job. And, what's interesting is the Corinthian church was just, the Corinthian people were a very immoral people. They were wild. And so as he's talking to them, he's addressing now the ones who have gotten saved and probably still have some wild in them.
For sure.
They still got a little buck in them.
Yeah.
And so, but that doesn't look any different really than the church right now.
No,
not at all. In 2021, unfortunately, some of what our Christianity today somewhat reflects the Corinthian church back in the day.
For sure.
And so this is why, hey, we're talking to godly people.
Yeah.
We're talking to people who are saying that Jesus is the Lord of my life, and yet there's still these issues that you're feeling.
Yeah.
We're still not complete in some ways. So how do we sort this out?
Right.
So I thought you did a really good job. Now that you're married, how to do this in a holistic way, right?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that you all were in the world. Now that you've come into Christ and you are going to decide to be married with someone that you chose so that you can fulfill these desires with, now don't bring your immoral stuff into the marriage bed now. Now there's a way you can do this.
That's right.
Where nobody has to feel uncomfortable.
That's right.
Where nobody has to feel like, now we got to do all the crazy stuff
That's exactly
that we were
right.
previously experiencing
That's exactly right.
outside of the church,
Right.
and now expecting to come into the church, my spouse to do all these things.
Yeah.
You talked about the word glorious, and you talked about the word inglorious.
Yep.
If there's a glorious, then there's an inglorious, and
Right.
how you can have glorious sex, which is what?
Delightful.
Delightful,
And
welcoming,
and completely enjoyable was
yes,
the word.
enjoyable. That's right.
Completely enjoyable.
That's right. Completely enjoyable.
Completely. Thoroughly. Holistically.
But that hooks back around to your earlier sermons.
Yeah.
You can't do that unless you know how to be emotionally naked.
That's exactly
Unless
right.
you know how to bring everything and it's in safety and it's in
That's right.
it's in freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jenna, I'm sure in all of the counseling that you've done and the therapy classes that you've done and all the people that you have spoken with, I'm sure you have spoken to many married couples that have intimacy issues,
Yes.
that have intimate problems, that don't feel comfortable, that maybe they find themselves in the same situation. Maybe, we before we got saved, we did all kinds of crazy stuff. And then now we get into this marriage and now we're unfulfilled. Is there anything, could you speak into that at all?
Yeah, and I appreciate that you specifically went to the word intimacy instead of just sex, although I am a sex therapist.
For sure.
Because I think, so let me back it up a little bit. In our brains, what fires together wires together. And so we're used to running these neural networks of associations. Like when I do this in my sexual experience, this is what I'm expecting, to happen. And so when we start pulling away from some of the associations that we've previously had, and we kind of have these imprints on our neural system and what we expect and what our body thinks is going to turn us on and what's going to take us to this place, that pruning, if you will.
Yeah. Good word.
Yeah. Because
really
it allows the next blossoms and the flowering to happen afterwards. And I think people get into that place, and that's a weird season to be in.
Wow.
When they're trying to change the way they lean into sex, what draws them into sex, what turns them on, what gets them aroused. And we really are talking about rebuilding intimacy.
Yes.
Whereas typically what is involved in the inglorious sex is the roller coaster.
That's right.
And I'm not anti the roller coaster.
Right.
But we cocktail dopamine and adrenaline and a lot of other things in our early sexual experiences that we want to show up every time, and we never learn how to shift gears and get into that oxytocin lovemaking.
That's right.
Which is built on intimacy.
Yes, that's so great. Yeah. Now, if you are at all lost on what Jenna is saying, I really want to just take 1 second and encourage you to make sure that you go back and watch week 9, Glorious Sex, so that you can flow with us on what's happening here. Because at that Sunday sermon, we talk about that. And he talks about a roller coaster of when you are in the world, it's so exciting. You're just having all these partners, and it's just, it's
the Texas Giant.
The Texas Giant. I think, Jenna, you gave that
built
example.
On newness.
So would you give
built
the example? Would you reiterate what Tim was saying that you shared? Would you share with us that example about the Texas roller coaster?
Dope.
Yeah.
So break that down for us.
So dope.
So I have a lot of people who come into my office, or, I'll do a speaking engagement and they'll ask me questions and they'll say, well, or these are phrases I hear. I feel like we've fallen out of love. It's not spicy anymore. I'm not excited. And I explain to them that it is dopamine and God-given dopamine, okay?
Yeah.
That helps us feel infatuation and kind of that really high excitement that draws us toward each other.
Yes.
God gave it to us to help us mate, okay? And those highs and the ups and downs of like, oh my gosh, is he going to text me? Is she going to answer the phone?
The
right?
feelings
that
afterwards.
feeling,
Yes.
that's dopamine, okay?
Yep.
And in the beginning, we get used to that driving the connected experience and even the sexual experience. And on average, it lasts about 2 years into marriage, which is why we call that the newlywed phase.
The newlywed phase.
Okay?
Yes, we hear it
so
all
on
the
average.
time.
Now, there are things that can change that timeline.
For sure.
But on average.
Yeah.
And I liken it to internally in your neurotransmitters and hormones. It's like riding the Texas Giant. It's like the ups and downs and the excitement. And so what we try to do is go back and find that roller coaster experience to keep it going. But the truth is,
you get used to that roller coaster experience.
You do.
And you want that
it.
roller coaster experience all the time so that you don't.
Yeah.
And that's the only ride you want to be on.
That's the only ride you want to be on.
You show up at Six Flags and it's like,
Just give me Texas Giant.
Right? All these other rides.
And I get
Texas Giant.
I get it, right? I mean, the Texas Giant was fun.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater because
but after the first time, you got whiplash, your neck hurts, your back is out.
Some of us get
that
nauseous.
ride is rough, honey.
What most couples, because porn and culture and Hollywood don't teach us or model anything but oxytocin. I mean, dopamine-driven lovemaking and the highs and lows of the Texas Giant. We don't really know what we're looking for. And so what I try to invite couples into is, there's supposed to be this transition into predominantly oxytocin-driven lovemaking.
Nice.
Which the image that I use is, and I try to keep it on tracks because then they're connecting somehow. But you go to a 3-month summer vacation in Italy.
Come on, 3-month summer vacation in Italy.
On a train. You're just riding the countryside on a train. and you're just all the things slow and steady and
Keep
robust, right?
Yes.
We would not go, but it's not the Texas Giant. Like nobody would say that to
That's
us.
true.
Right?
That is true.
But that lovemaking is not based on highs and lows. It's about this sweet depth and robust connection that doesn't have to have highs and lows, right?
That's right. That's right.
And most couples have a hard time transitioning there.
Don't look at me and then give me the affirming head nod to me. Just,
It's 22 years, baby.
I know.
We've been on vacation for a long time.
You guys have been in Tuscany for a while.
Yeah, we are. We live. I speak Italian fluently.
Fluent Italian.
Fluent Italian.
But if no one casts that vision for couples,
Yeah.
I have a lot of compassion and empathy for people who can't go, oh, we're supposed to go from the Texas Giant to, Tuscan train ride.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. And when we don't have anything in society casting that vision,
To balance that transition.
we just have people trying to recreate the Texas Giant inside their marriages in a way that's dysfunctional typically,
Wow.
Yeah.
and or looking outside of marriage to go get the excitement again.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
newness brings dopamine highs.
Right.
Okay, so Jenna, in these
That's so good.
with these couples, because we've gotten quite a bit of questions
Awesome.
on this, and we're gonna do a Q&A afterwards, and I'm sure hopefully you'll stay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll answer some of those questions, but I do want to know, for those watching now, for those that maybe feel just like that, what you're saying, maybe before my marriage, even if it's with the same partner, we had these highs.
Yeah.
We were on Texas Giant 24/7.
Yeah.
And then once we got married, it was just like, I don't want to touch you.
Yeah.
You ever get those? Well, don't leave me alone, or I'm tired. Like all of that is completely gone. It ain't the Texas Giant, and it ain't the river. We ain't in Italy
Right.
either. So you have these couples that they go from one extreme to another so quickly.
Yes.
What causes that? But it could be exactly what you're saying.
Plus a myriad of other factors.
Right. And then if you break that down, and then how do we get them back on a healthy, steady track?
Yeah. If you think about a general timeline of how we move through lifespan and stages, you have that newlywed phase, and then you immediately, where you have 3 kids under the age of 5 wrapped around your ankles, plus you're investing in your career. You both might be investing in your career. That season also creates challenges. So not only have you moved out of the natural kind of dopamine phase of the relationship, you're did.
Yep.
Which, and I don't know how deep we're going to go into stress and sleep deprivation.
100%.
Yeah. So
I need all the sleep,
Listen.
and I'll make sure you are not stressed.
a very
that's
famous
real.
that women would do better participating in a sleep study than they would coming to sex therapy most of the time. And there was old research and there's new research coming out that is just reconfirming that for women, stress and sleep deprivation are like the number 1 and number 2 complaint.
All right, so listen, I'm the type of guy that when I hear stuff, when we go to our regular checkups and we go meet with our mediator and our counselor and stuff like that, I take good notes.
Yep.
Right? Like I would never ever hear you say something like that and then let my wife be stressed or not get any sleep.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's stewardship of her, right? It's not like I'll just get good. If she sleeps, I'll get more sex, right? It's not that.
It's not one-to-one like that.
It's not one-to-one like that. What it is it's a stewardship responsibility that I now have to be more attuned to you.
For sure.
And to ask more questions.
That's
How's
right.
your day? How has your day been? How's it been with the kids? Do you need a break? Whatever the case. Are you tired? Do you want to sleep in and I get up early or something like that? Because all of that, again, in Tuscany, right?
That's right.
In Tuscany, we're on a vacation.
You're sleeping all the time.
Long vacation.
Right?
Yes.
If you get sleep and you're not stressed, then we will naturally
For sure.
come together and you're rested. And I mean, even in our relationship, I have always been like, if you've had a long day, but like, I'm like, I want it.
Do you hear when as soon as he said in our relationship, I just clamped up like, oh God, what is he going to say?
Juliet is so, I don't know if Juliet doesn't want y'all to know that we have sex with each other. It's kind of too late. Like,
that ship has sailed.
That ship has sailed.
That ship has sailed.
And going on a voyage and has not come back to dock. We be getting it. So, everybody knows that now. Okay, so they know, baby. They know. Your mama know.
Oh, God.
Sister, we all know, okay? So
all this red is flushing out the blushing that is happening right
But
here.
if my wife's had a long day
Yeah.
and I really want to be connected with her intimately and sexually, I will say to you.
He always does. He's always asking, how's my day? He is always checking all the time.
And if you're tired, I'll just say, no, baby, let's just wait till tomorrow. Because I don't like sleepy sex. Right? I would rather her be fully into it.
Yes, you're correct. You're correct.
Okay.
Honey. So,
It's okay.
I'm putting on my big girl underwear right now, sitting here.
So
I'm a very big girl
let
right now.
me jump into something that I think is you're going there.
Yeah?
And this is a really powerful tool that I use with a lot of couples. There is a spectrum of how we experience sex
That's true.
from 0 to 10.
Yeah?
0, 1, 2, pity and duty sex.
Yes, that's
Pity
true.
and duty.
That's a great
0,
way.
1, 2. I
That is
need
a
this.
great
I
way.
need this chart. Hold
Okay,
on.
10.
I'm gonna put.
For some people,
Spectacular.
that's swinging from the chandeliers. Okay?
Let's go.
Spectacular.
Okay, so you've got your spectrum.
Okay.
Most couples live between 3, 4, and 7 most of the time. And if you want 8, 9, 10, you have to invest in 8, 9, 10.
That's right.
100%.
I think people want 8, 9, 10, but they don't want to like book the babysitter, book the hotel, send her to the spa, clean up the house, like
Is the truth.
eat well that day, like all
That's
the things, right? You have to like invest in 8, 9, 10. So it's okay to shoot for it, but I
Right.
think some people just want to walk into the bedroom any given even and have 8, 9, 10.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
Right. No,
right.
no.
So most sex is nurturing to
100%.
good sex. Okay? Most couples don't have a category for nurturing sex. All couples, I have yet to meet a couple that have the same level sex drive. There's always a higher and a lower. That doesn't mean you're low and broken or high and broken. Like it just means higher and lower. No, I've yet. If somebody's out there, please email me because I want to meet you. I've not.
You
I've
do
not.
a case study on them for 2 months.
End of one.
Email
We're gonna
address
study you.
right now.
Okay, but nurturing sex is a really sweet place where there is a category where you can say, I'm not feeling aroused. I'm not wanting it right now. You do. I love you. I always feel close to you afterwards. I want to give this to you, but I'm not coming into this because like, I just want to rip your clothes off. I'm coming to this because I love you. There's this nurturing category that the lower drive spouse can offer the higher drive spouse that's actually, again, we're trying to get couples out of pity and duty sex because that's really not satisfying for anybody, not even the person who demanded it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's not as satisfying.
Yeah.
There's
'cause-
a lot of people that are in that phase.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's not us at
Yeah.
all,
No.
but that there is a lot of people in that phase.
Well, and I'm being real honest. Like, there's been times when, and I'll tell on myself that I've offered nurturing sex because it's like, look, I'm exhausted. I don't have it to swing from the chandeliers. This is not going to happen tonight. But this is what I have to give, and it's this sweet gift where my husband and I can still connect.
Yep.
But there are expectations managed, and it is about connecting and giving the higher drive partner an opportunity for release with you. And it's a
Dope.
gift-giving
I love it.
posture.
That's
love it.
great. It's a gift-giving posture. So we would say that is for the couple. Now, do we say that is how we maybe introduce the couples that went from, the Six Flags, the Texas
Yeah.
Giant, to having nothing? Do we ease them in that way?
It's one way.
You know?
I don't
Because I think education is what helps. I think
a
when
big
you can
deal.
educate
Language.
people how to
Yeah.
do things and to have a successful sex life, that's a big deal. And so many people they do shy away from it. They're embarrassed. They don't know. Some people don't have it at all. We even got a question that said they've been married for years and their husband doesn't even want to be touched.
Yeah.
Right. So you get all these things. Something causes that breakdown.
A lot of things do.
Yeah.
For some couples, it is a little bit of education and language.
Yeah.
Because they don't actually have a category for nurturing sex.
Oh, it's just,
in their lexicon. And so the fact that we would even give them that category becomes powerful. So for some couples, that's enough.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I don't have to demand it. He doesn't have to be in the same place as me, but we can still come together from a right posture towards each other, towards connecting. And so for some couples, that's enough. And there is, I'm sorry, those who are in their 20s and 30s and have teeny tiny babies and they're in the investment season, it's going to be a lot of nurturing sex probably.
For sure. And
So,
it's a luxury as well to be able to send off to a babysitter. It's a luxury to be able to, not everybody has the means to have family around them if they have young kids. And so both parties have to work together. I think sometimes too for women, if the man is as helpful, you know what I mean? If the man is just invested in the kids, honey, I'll get the bottles, I'll, change the diapers, I'll put the baby to sleep, and then you go take a shower. As tired as you can be, sometimes just those little things of showing help and assistance. The woman is like, I got you, And so it's just the unified help that can change things around as well.
Yeah. I mean, I married a saint, so that is like a privilege that I have had my entire marriage, baby raising years. I mean, he was always there.
You married a good,
I married good. I married a saint. You guys said something, I think, Tim, you said something, I can't remember how you said it, but I want to hook back around to it because you were real quick to say, if he does these things, it doesn't mean like I'm going to get sex, right? Like kind of this one-to-one.
Right. It's a stewardship.
It's a stewardship thing. And what I try to invite couples to consider is, and we might be hooking it back to point number one or point number two, the protection point. Whatever that is.
That was three.
Three. My bad.
You remixed them.
We'll get to the points. We didn't even get to the point yet.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
But you don't marry your
points.
spouse so that they are a sexual vending machine.
Right.
Okay? That's
Please
not what
say that
means.
again.
Girl, look
Please
at that
say it
camera
again.
right there.
That camera.
You don't marry your spouse so that they become your sexual vending machine. Because then what they are is the object of your sex drive, not the object of your affection.
That's
Let's go,
right. Come
Jenna.
on. That's good.
Unbelievable.
Come on.
That needed to be said.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
And when you're doing all those things, it's like making a fire. You create the conditions for a spark to catch.
For sure.
Okay, so it's still like all of those things that you're doing, taking care of the bottles, taking out the trash, letting her sleep in, helping him with this, whatever it is, you're creating the conditions for all of it to flourish, but you don't have this like one-to-one guarantee.
For sure.
Where we have poorly incentivized the process.
That's right.
So
that's really good.
Oh my gosh.
That is really good.
Yes.
So that's great. Thanks, Jenna.
You're welcome.
I see why you're the counselor. All right. So you talked about on Sunday, Hebrews 13.
Yes.
Marriage should be honored by everyone.
Should be honored by everyone.
I thought that was great. That was a really good point.
Yeah. Again, I'm trying to bring, I think one of the reasons why it was important for you to be here, Jenna, as we talked about this, is because there isn't enough discussion.
There's not.
There isn't enough education.
Yeah.
There isn't enough language given.
Right.
And when you don't have the right tools, you just can't build the right thing.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And we don't want sex and sexuality to be Lego blocks.
Yeah.
Right? We want to make like a masterpiece. We don't want like this snaps into this and then that goes there.
Yep.
And then therefore this is what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I bring up Hebrews chapter number 13, when it says that, marriage should be honored by all.
That's right.
And the marriage bed is undefiled. There is this redemptive quality that I feel like God gave me a passion to express to his people as it relates to sex and husband and wives having sex. That needs, marriage needs to be honored by all.
That's right.
I mean, think about it. The man and the woman coming together gives the best picture of Jesus Christ and his love for his bride. It's the best picture on the planet. So anybody that steps into that union is actually giving the best picture that can ever be given in all of human history as to Christ's love for his bride. So it should be honored by all. It's disrespected by culture.
That's right.
But it should be honored by all. And then subsequently to that, the marriage bed being undefiled, it's just about keeping the marriage bed pure.
That's right.
And the marriage bed is pure.
I want to make sure we talked about this part for sure.
Yeah. The marriage bed is pure when there's a man and a woman in that bed.
And the only people that can actually bring disrespect and dishonor in your marriage is you.
That's correct.
You
That's the truth.
You or your spouse.
It comes from you.
It is because you will either allow the disrespect from somebody else, or you need to be the one to block it.
That's right. That's absolutely correct.
That's the bottom line. You are the barrier and the protector for your marriage.
That's exactly right.
And so if other people in general will be disrespectful, that doesn't mean they don't have to cross a line with you.
That's exactly right.
You know, you are the one that actually open and close the door to whether that comes into the marriage or not. And you talked about the marriage bed should be kept pure. You also said, do not bring pornography in the bedroom.
Right.
For sure.
Pornography can't come into the bedroom. It's a destructive thing to let inglorious sex inform the glorious sex
Very good.
you're supposed to be having with your spouse.
That's right.
Again, one of the things I said on Sunday, and I wanted to tap dance all over this point.
Tap dance.
But I was like, we have Unpacked, so I don't have to like actually go there. But, you know, when you're informed by pornography, and you try to get these images executed in your own relationship, what you forget is these people were hired.
That's right.
To do this.
That's right.
So there is a very well-known secular, so not faith-based, brilliant marriage family therapist who is pro-pornography. Okay, so so in my world, there's a lot of arguments about that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And he says that porn is bad sex education.
It is.
It is.
For sure.
Unusual people in unusual situations.
That's so good.
Doing unusual things. And it's bad sex ed. And again, he's very, this is coming from
a secular
pro-porn marriage family therapist. And he would say, it's bad sex ed.
Yeah.
Unusual people. And he talks about like, they sit there and they do push-ups right before and everything's been tucked and there's makeup everywhere. It is not.
And they've all taken the blue pill.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So that they have an everlasting erection.
Yes.
Right?
In unusual situations. He's like, they teach you that sex shows up in these kind of scenarios that really doesn't represent real life. And then he says doing unusual things. And this is coming from him.
Wow.
And so what happens is, but I think this goes back to what you were saying, Tim, that we are not at this point fully flourishing in our sexual lives inside the church.
Right.
And so people are so desperate for sex ed and like, they're like, where do I turn?
So
So they go into that world like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to go watch this.
Yeah.
And so we have terrible sex ed.
Terrible.
For sure.
Especially when it's one person going to learn something.
Yes.
And then coming back trying to introduce it. It's like y'all didn't take the class together.
Also that.
The bad class.
Right?
Yeah.
You went to a bad class.
Yeah. Right.
Only one of y'all went to the class. And then you're mad that you're not trying to do this. And again, these people were unusually paid to do these unusual acts.
That's right.
That don't show up in the natural rhythm and flow of everyday life. No one's ever going to just be in a kitchen washing dishes and someone come up behind them and they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted today at 1:30 p.m.
There's
like, it's so random.
There's a famous
But listen, now y'all know I was addicted to porn. So I used to watch porn.
Yeah.
It's a bad educator.
It's a bad educator.
This is not what is happening in real life.
There's a
All of these
famous
scenarios.
actress who is quoted saying, Watching porn to learn to have sex is like watching the Fast and Furious to learn how to drive. Nobody needs that.
So great.
Into that camera.
So great.
It's not my quote.
It doesn't matter.
So
you remembered it.
Yeah. Watching porn to learn to have sex is like watching the Fast and Furious to learn how to drive. And nobody needs that.
Nobody needs that.
That is so good.
You're going to wreck a bunch of cars.
So good. That's exactly
and a bunch of relationships, right?
Yeah.
Wow. You're going to wreck yourself.
You are going to wreck yourself.
You're going to wreck yourself.
Yeah,
There's an author named Wendy Maltz who wrote a book called The Porn Trap with her husband, also a secular therapist. But I love this book. And you can go to her website, and she's got this kind of, she calls it a poster, but it's like a downloadable sheet that talks about porn-informed sex as compared to healthy sex. And it's been shocking when I have offered that to people. They didn't even realize that they were getting the porn-informed version of sex in circles they thought were safe. I don't even think we truly realize how deeply... Like not just from directly watching the porn, but from
resources,
places we thought were safe.
That's right.
We got this message too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was telling Juliet yesterday that I read an article by a former porn star who talked about how she wound up getting into the industry. And it's the same. She shared her story, and then many other porn actresses and actors still in the industry celebrated the bravery of her being able to speak out and step out of the industry, but how they still felt so trapped to stay in. But it all boils down to low self-esteem.
That's right.
And it all boils down to this need for validation.
And
this,
attention.
This attention that they now have. They're made to be beautiful. They're made to be objects of desire, and it's filling a place. No, I should say it's passing through a place
Yeah, there you go.
that never gets filled.
That's right.
But while it's passing through, they can.
You have a moment.
You have a moment where you feel like.
You have a moment where you think you're being satisfied.
That's right, and it's not actually the case. And so, trying to get people out of that mindset and understanding that. Point number one, and I don't know what your remix was, but God created it, He blessed it, right? And He said that it's very, very good.
Yeah.
Being that it can be redeemed by God means that it can be enjoyed by us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and when you are married to your spouse, the covenant is between you and your wife.
That's right.
Or you and your husband. That is the covenant.
Right.
It's not between you, your husband, Rick and Jamie.
No.
You know, it's not between you, your husband, and that videotape. It's not between you, your husband,
your wife, and porn.
And another friend.
Yep.
Or couples who swing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because people are doing all the things.
All the things.
Yeah.
Right?
In church.
In church, they're doing all the things.
All the things.
So they want to throw out the scripture. Here's a lot of people's excuse. Well, the marriage bed is undefiled, so we can do whatever we want to. But the covenant is between you and your wife.
That's right.
Well, they want to like kind of cherry pick that.
100%.
Scripture.
100%.
People love cherry picking scripture when it comes to sex.
Absolutely.
Like it just depends on
That's
the day
right.
of the week and the person
because
you're
people
talking
essentially
to.
want to do what they want to do anyway, and so they want permission.
Yeah.
You know, they want permission.
Yeah.
Yes, to your point. Well, and I just want to say thank you for touching on that. I know that there's lots of couples that struggle with that. Men
and women.
And they struggle with that being in their relationship. There's a lot of Christian couples that were like, oh, I didn't know it was wrong for us to do that. Or, you know, nobody ever talks about it. Or, you know, we watch it all the time together, right? Well, what happens is you are putting all this toxic stuff in your eye gates, right? Christian term, in your heart, in your soul, in your mind. So I know psychologically you can tell us what's happening in your neural realms, right? That goes along with that. But you're feeding your body these visuals. And then what your brain does is it remembers that.
It becomes the template.
It becomes the template, right?
Yeah.
So now when you're trying to really have a moment with your wife, you're thinking about what you were watching.
There's another layer in there that was recently brought to my attention. I had a guest on my podcast, and we were we were not talking about porn or sex or anything, but we were talking about technology. And there's a technology layer to this that I don't think couples realize.
Yeah.
You watching anything on a screen is going to hit your brain harder than a real life human experience. So if you're watching it on a screen, it pings you in the pleasure center of your brain to like a 7 or 8. Human experiences are like a 3 or 4.
Right.
How are you going to get high on a 3 or 4 if you're
when
so
you're
used to a 7 or 8? And that's just the technology layer.
Because
that's
it's a visual stimulation.
Yeah, that's not even about the content.
Right.
That's just about, so I'm used to associating this kind of sexual arousal high pinging in the pleasure center of my brain at a 7 or 8 because I'm watching it on a screen, and now I'm going to try to translate that.
That's right.
And then they're like, well, this is not working.
Right.
It's not going to work.
So let me give you the visual that I have in my head. So this screen ping is hitting at a 7 or 8. And if through some type of random snap, that couple jumped out of the screen and were in reality in the bed with you, it would automatically go down.
Maybe.
To a 3, 4.
Yes, except for now because there's some other couple in your bed, you're probably going to have an adrenaline high. So something else is going to, but again, it's just it's trying to get back on the Texas Giant.
Yep.
That's right.
Instead of transitioning into
Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to recap this before we go any further. Dopamine, if I'm synthesizing this correctly, dopamine is what God gave us to get together.
Yes. It gets us excited.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
It gets us excited. Like when I met Juliet, 23 years ago, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I laid eyes on her and I was like, Lord Jesus.
And it's kind of like being high in your brain. You probably thought about her all the time. You're like, I just can't stop thinking about it. When's the next time I'm going to text her?
About her all day.
Yeah, when am I going to call her? Is she going to call me back? What date am I going to take her on? I mean, it just almost takes over.
We'd be on the phone for hours. She'd just be breathing and I'd just be horny.
Yes.
Like literally like, oh my, I cannot wait, right? So the dopamine gets us together. The oxytocin keeps us together.
And oxytocin is the same, it's the bonding hormone. It's actually the same hormone that, and I don't want this to go to a weird place. It also is the same hormone that like we bond with babies.
Oh, yes.
So it is the deep attachment, bonding hormone in the system that draws us together.
Yeah.
And we've got to get to that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're essentially an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Like,
and the couples need to admit that.
Yeah.
That's right.
So there needs to be conversations around this that may seem uncomfortable or that they don't want to have to really talk about this because although it's an adrenaline rush for one, it's a silencer for the other partner. And so they don't know how to talk about it.
Yep.
So now there's a distance there. And so
and a pulling away that just happens over time.
It's such a slow pull. Yes. So
I want to know about. I'm curious about these remix points.
I'm moving too slow. I just want to make sure we're getting everything. Okay. So point number 1 from Sunday.
Yes.
You said God created sex, blessed sex, and calls it very good. All of those were his point number 1.
Yep.
Okay. So what I did was I remixed it. Okay. And I feel like my remix version was better.
I love this so much.
God created sex, blessed sex, calls it very good. And he emphasized very good. My version was, I do all things well.
That's good.
Ooh.
He does do all
I do all things well, boo. That's how I said it.
That's how you said it.
I do all things well, boo.
Okay. So point number 1.
I do all things well, boo.
Is I do all things well, boo. And he did.
Yes, he did.
I'm so glad he gave us sex. It's amazing. You're right. He does all things well.
He does all things well.
And I think that's the reason why so many people want to participate in it.
Yeah.
Because it's an ingenious creation.
For sure.
Like, it's brilliant that he made that thing up, right?
Yeah.
But
he didn't have to.
He didn't have to.
He did not have
He
to.
He could have made this a completely, you know what I mean? Like,
he could have come up with some other system.
he could have. He made this on purpose, right?
2 people just spit on the ground and then the baby is formed.
I mean,
Is that a new system?
That could have happened. I'm so glad he didn't.
He did it. He did
I
that.
would hate to get married to somebody just to spit on the floor and a human come out of the ground. That's so weird. God, you've left me with a visual that I did not want today.
Okay, that was point number 1.
But let me just say to that.
Go ahead.
Let me just say to that, baby, that there's a glory to that in that he does all things well.
Yes, he does.
But Satan also knows he does all things well.
Yeah.
And so he brought the inglorious part.
Yes.
And we have to remember
shameful.
that that's the sin.
That's the sin.
It's not the sex.
No, sex is not the sin.
No.
And it's so hard because sex really does touch the core of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it gets wounded and broken and fractured, that pain is so deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up. I want to make sure that we we talk about that for sure, because there are a lot of people watching that they have painful sex, and not even just physically.
Yeah, emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you say anything to that?
Yes.
Or do you want to say anything to it?
So I actually specialize both in working with couples where one or both have trauma in their background, and couples who experience physically painful sex. Those are actually my specialties. And so I guess to kind of pull it all together, as believers, I think it's important to remember that it is the sin that causes the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to kind of tease out that there are different types of sin.
For sure.
Because we go immediately to personal sin. And while if personal sin's present, I think it's important we attend to that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
But there is also the sin done against you.
Yep.
Yes.
Where you were in the presence of immense shame, but it wasn't personal fault.
For sure.
You still feel that inglorious
That's right.
all over you.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is also the sin
Are you, I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
And are you talking about maybe a person who may have been raped?
Yes.
Or molested?
Yep.
Okay.
Or abused.
Or abused in any way? Because I want to say it.
Yep.
Because this is what we're talking about. And
Yes.
so many people experience things like that. And so I want to make sure that they hear you.
Yes. That is, it is so hard in the healing process to differentiate the fact that you were in the presence of strong, immense, shameful sin, but it was not your fault.
That's right.
And the healing process is walking through allowing that to not be yours and to heal from that. It is so hard to tease that apart.
Yep.
For many people.
Yeah.
But yes, let me be clear. That is the sin done to you, not that you did.
That's right.
And then the other part, so the physically painful, is we live in a broken and fractured world.
Yeah, we do.
Right? I mean, the things that we struggle with in our bodies are the result of we don't live in Eden anymore.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And so when our bodies don't show up the way we want them to, I can't tell you how many people I've worked with that have thought that somehow God smited them for something they personally had done wrong, and that's why they're having this physical complication. And,
I've heard
and so
that
we
before,
have
too.
to unpack. No, our bodies are not in Eden state.
Right.
Right.
And we may not even get to fully return to Eden state.
Right.
That's right. We may never fully get to 100% enjoy. We may never fully get to, there are some, we just may not ever get there. But you try.
Yeah, and so you pursue restoration and God's redemption and healing. And we don't, we have to be honest about the fact that we may not always get to return to Eden state, but there's a lot that God can do
Yeah, for sure.
in the healing process.
Yeah.
And so making sure that and part of that healing is allowing God's sex to be good, to bring it right back around to kind of where we were on the point. Like, the sex is good.
Yeah.
And God did good
Yes,
when he created it.
Yeah, he did.
And that's a part of in our belief system and in our emotions, allowing that healing to happen.
Yeah.
I want to just say two things to this point around brokenness, around abuse and stuff like that. I have a member in our family who is impotent. And so intimacy has to take on a new definition.
That's right.
Yeah.
For them in their relationship, because they are not able to
do the same things.
To do the same things.
Mechanically and physically.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not able to have intercourse anymore, right?
Yep.
That penis is not going in that vagina. And they've had to grieve that. They've had to mourn that. And then find ways to be intimate and sexually connected in ways that don't include that.
I think part of what's robbing us from flourishing in our sex life is that we have made a really tiny, narrow definition of sex.
That's
Right.
Right.
Like it's penile, vaginal,
and that's it.
intercourse, and that's it. And like sex is a lot of things.
Yeah.
And part of allowing that to kind of break the box and get outside of it does help with the healing process for many.
Now, I want to say this for any single people that may be watching, because I've seen a lot of single people express sexuality and think because it's not penile vaginal, that they're not actually sinning.
That's right. The
But
loopholes.
and that's why, in my little definition of inglorious sex, any was in all caps, right?
Any, all that.
all the things.
So if this is oral, if this is anal, if this is hands, if this is rubbing up against, if this is dry humping, if this is any manner of things, right? That is a sexual expression and given a release. I'm talking about that, right? Because some people have been like, well, define any, right? You know what I mean? It's like at this point, I think you just want to do
what you want to do.
Yeah,
Right? Again, you want the permission.
Yeah.
Innocence dies early on, typically not at our own hand, right?
Right? Oh, absolutely.
But the pursuit of purity, and there are a lot of people kind of going after purity culture, and we probably don't need to go down that rabbit trail. But the pursuit of purity is protecting from the inside out. If you are asking the question that way,
that's right.
Like, what's the technical line?
Yeah.
We've got a different heart issue.
That's right.
It's the wrong question.
That's exactly right.
It's the wrong question.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want permission to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's basically it at the end of the day.
So let me bring up the other thing, right? So we talked about
Is point number 2?
No. I'm just talking. I'm still on the whole brokenness around because I was sexually abused by a teenage boy or man, wherever he was at the age of 8 years old. So my body was experiencing stimulus that I would not have chosen at the hands of this person. Especially at the age of 8, I was just trying to play with some Transformers, some He-Man, right? 8 years old. I just graduated from a big wheel, right? So, so while what was being done to me was not what I wanted done to me, it did stimulate my body in a way that as I grew up, I'm going, I don't have same-sex attraction, but I was aroused.
I responded.
My body responded because we are sexual beings. Your body will respond to touch, stimulus.
It can.
From just about anything.
Unwanted. So this is a part of where there's significant gaps in our sex education. Your body's arousal system is involuntary.
That's right.
You cannot control it.
Right.
Say that again louder.
Our arousal is involuntary.
Thank you.
You can create the conditions for it, which is what I try to help couples learn to do. Create the conditions for arousal, and let's see if we can get that sucker to light, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But in in the context of that conversation, because we are not teaching that, and it's not more part of the open dialogue where people understand how our bodies work. When arousal or, we're even talking about orgasms, releases, all those things, when those show up in the context of not mutual, unconsented, abusive, assaultive, sexual situations, there is a lot of confusion because, again, porn-informed culture tries to teach us that if any of those things showed up, that was consent or that was okay, or this means this about sex. And that is just not the truth.
That's right.
And so it is very confusing. And now we're going back to even developmental stuff, right? Like
understood.
Where was your brain
For
as
sure.
an 8-year-old to be able to sort that out? We're talking about concrete thinkers. It's black and white. And most kids are egocentric. And so they go, if something wrong is going on, I'm going to come up with some creative way to blame myself because that's what kids do.
That is exactly what kids do.
And so that's the unwiring that has to happen in the healing process that is very painful and very hard, very possible. I want to make sure to say that.
Yeah, for sure.
I always say hard is not impossible.
Yeah.
Things are hard to do.
Yeah.
But
And I had to do hard work.
You had to
I
do
mean, that's
a lot of
part.
hard
That was
work.
part of my therapy.
Yeah.
Has been doing hard work so that when we are enjoying our sexual relationship,
Yep.
and I'm being satisfied by her body and her touch. If this triggers a memory
Yeah.
to something that happened to me that I did not want to happen to me,
Yeah.
I'm not associating it with that pain.
Yeah.
I would have been stimulated by this had I never been touched and didn't have a bad memory to project it to. Therefore, I'm not having these relapses in thought of, oh, I'm shameful. I must be nasty.
Yeah.
I'm a freak. I got turned out. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you would have liked it anyway.
Right.
Under the right
Yeah.
conditions that you controlled. You just didn't have the
Yes.
opportunity at 8
Yeah.
Right.
to go, no, sir, I'd rather not. Right?
In some cases, no ma'am.
Yeah, that wasn't
Yeah.
that, and no, ma'am, that wasn't the environment. So I just think that's, again, it's so important to have this discussion
right.
and
That's
to get
right.
to normalize it in church culture.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that people don't have these major gaps they're trying to fill in themselves.
Oh yeah. And I won't go there. I will come back and sit on this couch with you guys if you want to. We're also now kind of creeping onto the, like, we need to have trauma informed churches. Like that, it's a whole thing.
100%.
Yeah, we'll have like a whole weekend on
Yes,
the couch.
we will.
Okay.
We'll do a whole 4
I'm
weeks
going to
on
hold
that.
you to it. It is documented.
Yes,
All these
we
people
all
on
heard.
tape
We all heard her,
watching.
right?
Okay, it's official.
Trauma-informed churches.
All right.
But
coming
that's a
soon.
little bit what you're bringing up.
Yes,
like
for
we're
sure.
trying to talk about
Exactly.
having healthy, sexually informed churches, but this is, it absolutely crosses over.
Well, that's
because there's
healing.
so much trauma.
And God is into healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I want to go to the next point, but I'm going to say this to wrap
doesn't
up this
matter.
whole deal.
It doesn't matter.
Just to wrap up this whole loop right here, you are never going to get everything resolved at the altar.
No.
No.
Let me just say that. Let
You
me
need
look right in this
supplemental
camera.
help, for
you
sure.
will never get everything resolved during an altar call. The best thing an altar call can do is open up a can of worms. But it's in the counseling chair.
The follow-up.
It's on the couch.
Your work
It
after.
is with someone who has gone through the intellectual rigor, like
Yeah.
my sister here, and can help to fill in those gaps and to normalize the conversation and bring education that's going to get you to long-lasting freedom. A good altar call will heal your soul,
And it opens you up to be.
Yes.
but counseling repairs your
Yes.
mind.
For sure.
So, okay.
Yeah. Altar calls open your heart
Yeah, they do.
to receive
That's right.
the healing and
That's
to
right.
receive the counseling, for sure.
Yeah.
Very good, sweetheart.
Thank you, baby.
Thank you, Jenna, for that. Okay, point number 3.
Do we even do
Or
two?
no, number two.
Yes, I need to know what
so
your 2
sorry.
was.
God made sex for our pleasure.
Yes, he did.
God made sex for our pleasure.
Yes, he did.
Is Tim's point. I
Yes.
feel like my point was more fun.
Okay.
Let's do it.
My remix was, I'm doing you a favor.
Ooh, I like that.
I said,
Yeah.
I'm doing you a favor.
Yeah, I'm doing you a favor. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
I
so
don't need it.
here is how I know that God made sex for our pleasure. I feel like I know the reason why God made sex for our pleasure.
Spill the beans.
It's found in the female body.
Yeah.
It's the clitoris.
Has no other function.
It literally has no other function
That's the truth.
Has no other function.
than to be stimulated for pleasure. There's no other reason on a woman's body to have a clitoris than for it to be pleasure.
Yeah.
So if God did not make sex for our pleasure, he wouldn't have given y'all a clitoris.
Now, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to pause you for a second. For those of you that are watching that are in very strict cultures, okay, that are in other countries, that you or your family, or maybe it's normal in your society for people to cut off
Yeah.
a woman's clitoris, you will know now that that is not of God. None of that is not God. That is a mutilation.
Yeah.
And if you can get into a place where you can run or not be a part of that, or seek some sort of help, that is not God's will.
No, it's not.
He gave that to you. You were born with it for a reason. And so I just wanted to make sure, because more than just the U.S. watch this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are many cultures and civilizations and
That
people
practice
groups
that.
and practices that they have a belief and a theology that if I cut this off and you shouldn't do this, this is our belief system in our culture. But I've said in previous shows is your culture cannot be an idol before God.
That's right.
And for
Absolutely.
many people, it is.
Yep, it's kingdom
And-
culture above all culture.
That's right. And
Yep.
so we want to make sure that you know and that we are very clear that it will always be God's will before our culture, before our
Yeah.
society, before our ethnicity. It is what God wants for our life. But mutilation is not of God.
Yep.
Let's be very clear. That is of the devil.
Baby,
Okay.
I appreciate you being sensitive today. That was
Yeah,
good.
I like to be sensitive to people.
No, that's fantastic.
Everybody's going through something different.
Yep.
Everybody has different feelings.
Yep.
Everybody has different scenarios
Yep.
and issues
Yeah.
and problems. And
Yep.
it's not all a blanket situation.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I want to make sure that no one feels isolated or left out of the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's good, baby. So back to the clitoris.
Okay, hold on. Just a minute. To your point,
Yes.
and I love this part of the body, and I love educating on it. But the brain is the most sexual organ people have,
Absolutely.
and there's place for healing there too.
Yes.
Good.
I agree,
That's
and I know
good.
that, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I want those people to know that,
Yes. Absolutely.
and it won't be Eden State.
Yeah.
That's right.
So in that moment of empathy and compassion, I want to join you in that
Yeah.
and offer that.
Yeah.
That there's healing. There's healing for that too.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
good.
That's good. Hope you guys feel compassion and know that you are not forgotten. Okay, are we still at point, was that point 2?
That was point 2.
All right.
I want to just say,
He wants to talk about the clitoris.
I want to talk about this clitoris. I appreciate this empathy. And I appreciate all of this sensitivity.
Okay.
It's incredible.
The clitoris is amazing.
It is. It's amazing. It's made from the same tissue. What becomes the clitoris can become the penis and sexual differentiation and in utero. But one of my favorite sayings from some of my trainers and mentors and whatnot is when we talk about the penis version, like God gave y'all a utility tool. Does a lot of things.
Give him a hammer.
Right? He gave you a utility tool, right? Like you can like
I'm sipping my tea just in time.
yeah. Better watch out. But there's something really beautiful about God separating that out in the female body to say pleasure's a part of this. And I'm going to separate this out and let you see it that way.
Yeah, so good.
I think it's a beautiful representation of
Yeah.
all of those nerve endings and where pleasure can be experienced. And it really does. It has no other function.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to show up to the party for procreation.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, it is just this good gift.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a passage in the Bible, because a lot of people, the reason why this was such an important point to me is because there are so many churches that are so afraid of sex.
Right.
Yes.
That they've only narrowed it to procreation.
Which I don't know how they do that.
Oh my
Well,
With
goodness.
Song of
It's-
Solomon.
I don't- well, they
the whole
ignore
book
it. They
out.
just-
I don't know.
It's the same way. Well,
Yeah.
they do that with anything that they are uncomfortable with.
That's
They
right.
just don't talk
Just
about
leave
it.
it out.
should.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, Holy Spirit, I'm comfortable with it. I'm not talking about him, right?
Yes.
Sex, Songs of Solomon, that doesn't even exist. Go to Proverbs, right? They
Yeah.
won't even go to Ecclesiastes
Yes.
because they're afraid somebody might turn to
They-
Songs of Solomon,
Yeah.
right?
There are some churches that just say it's wrong.
Yeah, they just say it's dead wrong.
It's just
and
dead
they have
wrong.
literally
Yeah.
tried to police people's sex life,
They have. That's what I'm
trying
trying
to use the Bible.
That's
And
what
you
I'm
know
trying to
what
tell
is
you.
so sad about that? People get married and even maybe like switch churches, right? Like they moved and they finally get to a church that like, hey, no, this is good. And they're like, oh, okay, we're married. This is good. Sometimes less for men than women because you guys got testosterone. That's a helper in this case. But I can't tell you how many times I've worked with women, and it's just so hard for them to turn that back on.
Well, and there's
because
been,
you've just demonized it and shut it down and repressed it and shoved it down. And so it's like, but then everybody's like sitting back and like, why can't you have sex when you're married? And they're like, well, because it's part of me, I have just shut it down.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to wake it back up.
They literally preach their sex drive out of them.
Well,
it's abuse.
Well, and sometimes in these male-dominated sort of patriarchal churches.
Let's go there.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Yeah.
You're all about that.
I am. I'm like about to come out of my seat.
They have cherry-picked your scripture.
Yes.
And the woman is the husband's body. He gets to do whatever.
Yep.
He has control. You lay down, and you just do what you're told to do.
Not only that.
That's just in addition to.
Yeah. There are large circles that have demonized female sexuality.
For sure.
To relieve men of their duty to discipline themselves.
That's right.
Right.
And then
that's good.
Go in the bedroom with their wives and wonder why she don't feel sexy or aroused.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no one can shift gears like that in their head.
Yeah.
No. And they're doing it themselves.
Yeah. I mean, they're getting in their own way. That's a nice way to put it.
That is 100%.
So I want to bring up this pleasure point in Scripture that a lot of people don't talk about. So, Abram is told that him and Sarah are going to have a child. And he's like, I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm so old. And God's like, I'm going to do it. Then about a year later, he actually tells Sarah the same thing. And Sarah laughs. Sarah's like,
right.
Ah!
Yeah.
Then she says this: how can a woman as old as me experience pleasure? She
That's
never
her
mentions
response.
the baby.
Yeah.
I'm going to get pregnant and finally she's like, I get to have pleasure again. And I just think redeeming the fact that sex is supposed to be pleasurable.
And that was on her mind.
That was on her mind.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
That's right.
I get to have pleasure with my husband again and we will get a baby out of this?
Yeah.
This is amazing. Even in our old age, and I think that's part of what is so redemptive about talking about this, is that I take incredible pleasure in Juliet's body. Incredible pleasure in it. I revel in it. It is all 5'4" of you.
Thank you.
Is spectacular. and so I love giving pleasure and receiving pleasure in this union. It's absolutely reciprocal. And I think if it's only seen, as you all just talked about, from this male and first of all, the cherry picking is selective is an egregious understatement.
So selective.
Because it actually says, husbands, fulfill your wives' needs, and wives, fulfill your husband's needs. And the fact that they could go into one sentence like that just has commas and just extract your, like this whole lay on your back thing.
That's right.
Well, then
just lay down.
Right?
And do as I say.
If that's the case, then women get to come home some days and be like, all right.
Yeah, but at that point, typically for a woman, they don't want to.
No, but I'm just saying.
They don't even love the husband.
If it was a tit for tat, which would be petty, I'm not saying that. But I just think that redeeming the pleasure principle, Janet, what's up? Redeeming the pleasure principle of Scripture as it relates to sex can help people shift their minds to, oh my goodness, we're supposed to enjoy this.
Yes.
There's nothing dirty about this.
It's like this downward spiral in a system like that, Juliet, where that's what we're living in. It's unsatisfying to the one demanding it.
Yep.
I know that. I mean,
for sure.
But I have those conversations all the time. So they're unsatisfied. So they're going to demand something else. And then they just start, and it's just like, they just keep trying to force to get something they deeply desire that God's put in us as something we want to run after.
Yeah.
But they just keep trying to force something that it doesn't work that way. And so what happens is by the time they get into my office, it's like, that's a little bit like trying sometimes to call Lazarus up, because it's like, come on now. Like it's so hard. And a lot of times it is the woman who is so beat down that we've demanded that you do this just physically. Well, then that wasn't enough. And now I'm demanding that your arousal shows up. That ain't going to happen, because I just told y'all that's not how that works.
Yeah,
so like, I mean, we just like, and then it just becomes oppressive.
Yeah.
And it's not impossible, but really hard to revive. And I wish that, again, to hook back to the beginning, I wish that more people were having the conversation of glorious sex, so that we were tempted to pursue that.
Yeah.
And fight for that, and have a vision for that, because we have a lot of people getting in their own way in a very hurtful way, to your point.
Yeah.
A very hurtful way.
It's good.
Yeah. There was just a couple of things I wanted to make sure that we touched on still in this topic. Only one of them I remember now, but back to the sort of demanding way, there are also people that will watch that have come out of, and thank goodness, they've come out of a sex trafficked life.
Yes.
Thank God for them being redeemed from them. But then now, if they even feel comfortable to even be in a relationship, to be married with someone again, and then they do attempt marriage again.
Yeah.
Now they're in an environment where their spouse is going to want to be intimate with them, but I'm sure that they're going to have some traumas and some hurts, and probably even feeling shame. You know what I mean? Again, just trying to be with their spouse. And I want to talk to the couple who one spouse is just not even necessarily the woman, but I don't want to be, I've lost interest all the way.
Yeah.
I've just totally lost interest in you, or I don't want to, of course, to me, there's more things that play a factor in that lost interest. There's lots of things. And I think that takes communication and kind of getting down to the point of it. But how long does a couple go without that physical intimacy, whether it's physical or in the brain, whether it's just any sort of intimacy? How long can they last successfully being that absent and not talking about it? Just kind of living as roommates, because they don't know how to have the conversation. Yeah. But they're not doing that either. So they're not doing anything.
If I understand your question correctly.
It was a lot. It's sort of a mosh posh if you can extract anything for a bit.
So there's a lot that contributes to a loss of interest. So but like from a biological perspective, like you can live without sex. And if you couldn't, Paul couldn't say celibacy.
For sure.
That's absolutely correct.
And so
that's absolutely correct.
So from a physiological perspective, we always tease, nothing falls off.
Right.
Nothing, it does not make you like more prone to cancer.
For sure.
Anything like that. I mean, I have heard it all.
Yeah.
There are good physiological benefits to sex.
For sure.
That keep things, fresh and young and whatnot. But I wouldn't ever draw a hard line, because I feel like that question, and it does come up a lot, is coming from somewhere else, specifically, typically wanting an out.
Yeah, I mean,
they're kind of wanting that when I get that question.
Yeah. What if it's been 7 years, 10 years? That's hard.
It's extremely hard to turn it around.
Yeah.
The more time you add to it, the harder it is to turn around. And I so deeply love the institution of marriage. I want couples to hear that you can.
Yeah.
And what I watch happen a lot of the time is you have that is played out, and the more frustrated spouse. And actually, what's interesting is when you get them one-on-one, most of the time both of them are frustrated.
For sure.
Like missing each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they've just gotten so used to missing each other, they're not shooting anymore. But it's like, I actually hear most of the time from both of them that they actually don't like that this is the way that it is.
Right.
I'm like, I can work with that.
Yeah, we hear it too.
Like I always tell people, whoever the lower desire partner is, and they're like, I want to want it. I can also work with that.
Absolutely.
You don't have to want it. You can want to want it. I can work with that.
That's good.
That's motivation to change,
For
right?
sure.
That's motivation to heal. The longer it goes, the harder it is to turn around. Because, like, just on a base level, you've gotten used to not being vulnerable.
That's right. That's
right?
right.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm not just talking about the vulnerability with your clothes off, although that is
Right.
a vulnerability.
Right.
For
But
sure.
Communication.
It is so vulnerable to initiate and decline.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And you've gotten used to not having to do that.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't want to be turned down. I don't want to put myself out there.
you
I
just
don't.
don't-
I don't want to be the one that says
Yeah.
no again.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
to do that. And
Yeah.
so, like, we're actually pulling away from more than just the physical process, which,
Mm-hmm.
again, in our head, we've got it pretty narrowed at times.
Yeah.
So you're so out of practice of intimacy, which, again, I'm going to go back to your words in the beginning.
Yeah.
It is more intimacy coaching than it
Absolutely.
is.
A physical
Yeah.
act of just
Yeah,
sex,
absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I tell people all the time, if I can help you fight well, I can help you have sex well. Because fighting and having healthy conflict is just about as vulnerable as initiating and declining, negotiating,
For sure.
activities, taking your clothes off,
That's
being
right.
honest, this isn't going well, I need
Yeah.
an adjustment,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
And so we can actually start, and this is what I typically start in another area, like an adjacent area that's going to create the same dynamics that need to play out in the bedroom and in the
Yep.
sexual process, and then try to cross it over and bridge it into that.
Right.
So I want couples to hear that it's possible.
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to validate that it's harder to get that going. I mean, it's a parked car,
Yeah. For
right?
sure.
It's hard to turn a parked car, but we got to get it going again.
That's
so I
right.
typically get it going in another arena.
You put them in neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
And then try to
Yeah.
move it over to
Yeah.
the sexual process.
Oh, Jen, I love you.
Yeah. That's good.
So good, girl.
Okay. Do we finish point 2?
2. Done.
Okay. Point
Okay.
3. God gave us sex for our protection. That was Timmy's point.
Yes. What's the remix?
My fun point is
Uh-huh.
I'm your best raincoat, guys.
I see what you did there, Juice. That was good. Yes.
I'm your
We
best
know where you were
raincoat,
born. We
guys.
know what era you were born in. You're using the word raincoat.
Raincoat.
Oh my gosh. That's so 80s.
I know. That's because my show is PG.
Okay. Okay.
Tim's show is rated R.
It's mature.
It's a mature.
It's
That's
not
right.
R.
That means it's MA. It's even
it's
worse.
mature. Listen. I have very low to zero inhibition. I'm down to talk about all the things.
It's all good, baby.
Yeah.
All right. That was point number 3. God gave us sex for our protection.
For our protection.
I'm your best raincoat, guys.
Yeah, I think the only thing I want to say there is that the protection of one man and one woman giving exclusivity to each other
Yeah.
in their sexuality
Yeah.
to express it is the most protective thing
Yeah.
in the entire world. I talked about just on a practical level, you're not worried about cheating. You're not worried about diseases. You're not worried about being manipulated, controlled, gaslighted, taken advantage of, all of these different type of things.
Yeah.
And so there's a protection that can come in there when the intimacy and the vulnerability is not just communicative, but it's also expressive. So that's my deal.
So I was in service,
Okay.
and I was listening to that point. It was the point that my wheels went turning probably the most on. Not because I disagreed with it, because I have watched so many couples abuse it.
Talk, please.
Some of it was, I think, some of the scripture that you were using with it, and then I'm just listening to you guys talk about it. I think sometimes we go, marriage and sex within marriage is meant to protect me, and then it becomes this thing used against your spouse, and in a way that's really unhealthy.
Yeah.
Please unpack that.
Yeah, I'm finding my words.
Yeah.
Are you gearing it towards a more manipulative spouse? If one partner is more manipulative,
yeah, like you
and he's
owe me
taking
this. This is where we're
advantage.
getting into pity and duty sex.
Yeah.
That passage out of 1 Corinthians, you keep reading, it says, this is as a concession,
Right.
Corinth.
Right,
because
right, exactly. Yeah.
Y'all are wild.
That's right.
Yeah. Y'all are real wild.
And I do think it's as a protection, but it is not meant to be it's not supposed to protect you from you growing in your discipline.
That's right.
And I think some people use this, cherry pick.
Yeah.
There's going to be a
That's
whole
what
thing
they
about
do.
that.
That's
They
right.
cherry pick this and they're like, well, I don't have to be disciplined. I got married. I'm like, oh, no.
Wow.
Exactly. Yes.
That's not
a good
protecting
point.
you.
No, that's
No,
exactly
it
right.
isn't. Not
No,
at
that's
all.
Not
Right?
Not at all.
And so I want to speak to that side of it because I absolutely agree that God gave us this as a sweet protection of the good gift of sex, your relationship, all of that. And I think some people really do kind of a cheap and lazy execution of that.
That's
For sure.
I'm glad you said that because I have seen it from both spouses. Usually with the man, it's like, hey, we're married now. You should be available at all times.
Yeah.
Right? Because
vending machine sex.
Vending machine sex. From the other side, I've seen majority women, some men do it, but majority women who you didn't do what I wanted.
Withhold.
And so now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right? The vending
They
machine
use it as a
is not-
control.
Yeah, they use it as a control and as a manipulative tool. Like,
That's right.
And so this man is now doing all this stuff that he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because sex is being withheld
And he's trying to earn it.
and he's trying to earn it.
There's
so
a lot
now
of that.
she's gamified it. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And he has used it to be a vending machine, right? C7, right?
Neither of those things has drawn him to intimacy.
No,
at all.
No, it's not intimacy. It's just performance at that
Well,
point.
it's selfish
And it's
control.
duty. So I got to give this visual that every time we've said duty sex, here's what I've seen in my head.
Come on, rose petals.
So Juliet says, baby, I would love for you to sprinkle rose petals all across our bedroom. And I come in and do this. There you go.
That's what,
That's duty sex.
That's right.
Right? That's the manipulative stuff that goes on. It's like,
And
here.
that's duty.
Like you wanted that, but
Other
not
things.
like that.
Not like that.
You didn't want me to do it like that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I actually think that, and again, and I can unpack that if you guys want me to, some gender difference trends, right? Not rules. But the person who wants sex sometimes is doing things with that attitude as well.
That's right.
You want me to do laundry? Did it.
Right.
Well, that's really arousing.
Right,
You know,
right,
I mean,
exactly.
that
Right.
works for me. You know?
Yeah.
And so we try to invite spouses to be in an invitational posture.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
You are supposed to be the most talented, finessing inviter. That's how you call people to the bedroom, regardless if you're the lower or the higher drives.
Yeah.
You invite.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's not demand.
That's good.
That's not coercion. It's inviting.
Juliet and I are good at invitations. You got some good invitations, girl.
No, I do what I can, boo. I do.
And I think I got some good invitations
You
too.
have great invitations.
Yeah, I've been giving you some great invitations.
Listen,
I'm not gonna say what they are.
thank you.
You're welcome. But I make some good invitations because the invitations, she RSVPs for those. Those are good. So no, I love that. Invitations are, that y'all need to write that down. Invite your spouse. Don't demand.
Right.
Don't
Right?
pout.
Don't subpoena.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
This is an invitation.
And don't command.
This is not an obligation.
Yes.
It's an invitation. It's such a good word.
It's not impossible, but it's really hard to misbehave if that's what you have in mind.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. That's good.
I think I find sometimes
Refreshing.
that,
That feels so good.
with these couples that, again, are Christ-led and Christ-centered, although having all these issues, I think a lot of this still falls back to lack of healthy and effective communication.
Oh, 100%.
At the fundamental foundational space, their lack of communication
So good.
and not knowing how to communicate, maybe feeling shameful about how to communicate, how to talk things out, it hinders. And so now our actions, we're acting out in this manipulative way because we don't know how to use our words to talk to our spouse about it.
That's good, baby.
And really, it just, to me, a big portion of it goes back to communication.
It's good, bro.
Well, people come in for sex therapy, because that's what I do, and go through this whole process and get really frustrated. They're like, when are we going to get to the sex therapy part? I'm like, we're doing sex therapy.
right now.
We're communicating.
And they're like, no, we're just working on communication. I was like, yeah, but you don't have those I statements down. So like, this is sex therapy. And, everybody's style is different therapeutically, but for me, almost 100% of my couples, that's where we're starting.
Yeah.
Is communication, and not just, and this applies to all of it, but I'll make it about the example of communication.
Yeah.
Not just technically executing.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
It is executing to the spirit and the essence
right.
of the model or the rule or, the principle. I cannot tell you how many people have come in my office and they actually know what they should be doing. And they can technically do it, but I can feel what's happening in the room and they're not really doing it. And it at that point, it often takes someone helping them going, yeah, I hear your I statements. I call them slippery I statements. Like, that's a slippery I statement. You're actually talking about him or her, but you're doing it in the form of an I statement, and I'm on to you. And we're not doing that here. And so you really have to capture what's really meant to happen, not just technically checking a box.
That's right.
Good.
That's right.
So that's get you there.
Yeah, that's great.
That's
Jen.
really good. So what I hear you saying, that's so good. What I hear you saying is that you produce a shade-less environment for them to have this communication. Because so many spouses throw shade on each other.
They do.
On the low. You know what I mean? And when you take away all that shade, and it's just
I'm a
light,
rough counselor.
Huh?
I'm a rough counselor. I mean, you know me.
I love it.
It's good.
There was a lady who called herself the Velvet Machete, and I'm like, that fits. Like, that'll work. I mean, in my office, couples can't get away with that.
That's good.
And it is because I care about what they want to get to.
That's good.
Absolutely. Don't waste their time. Yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Listen, this has been a really wonderful, phenomenal, intimate, open, transparent, revealing conversation.
I did good, baby.
You did do
See,
good.
you were so nervous.
Listen, because I know you.
I know it.
So
but I think you thought I was about to be talking reckless.
I never know.
I know.
I never know. And I come to church crossing my fingers every Sunday.
But I did good.
Yes, you did. I'm still here.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't run away.
Thank you, baby.
Good job, sweetheart.
You're welcome.
Good job.
You're welcome.
Did we cover everything we wanted to cover?
I think we did. I mean, the fourth point was just that.
Did you? We did have 4. I'm not getting rid of this 4th point. All right, point number 4.
I want to hear the remix.
Yes, I just want to hear the remix.
Yes.
You can wrap up, girl.
Okay, point number 4. God's image shows up when we have sex.
That's right.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
All right. My remix was 2. I had 2 remixes for this
Okay.
one, okay? Let me read Tim's again. God's image shows up when we have sex. My remix number 1 was, I'm in the building. I'm in the building, yo. I'm in
You
the
took
building.
it straight to New York on this
Straight
one.
to New York.
I'm in the building. I'm in the building.
I'm in the building.
Okay.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
Yes.
I'm in the building.
When we're having sex, he's in the building.
He's in the building.
His image shows up.
Okay.
I'm with that one.
Yep. And then the second one was, you can't get rid of me.
That's good. Can I just co-sign on that?
Co-sign.
How many? Well, now, okay, this is just my memory. Okay, I'm not recalling a porn scene or anything, but I will say, in all the inglorious sex that has been displayed, the word God comes up a lot.
Oh God.
Oh God. Oh God.
Can I piggyback on this?
Oh God. Right?
Because
I thought we were closing. I guess not, folks.
Yeah, sorry.
Stay tuned for more.
I'm gonna. We're up. Take us off the tracks here.
No, take us.
Because when couples really learn how to have sex, mind, body, and soul, from a biological, psychological, social, relational, and spiritual level, and a lot of couples don't know how to pull the spiritual in.
Yeah, for sure.
It is an existential experience. Why do you think Corinth and all those places were worshiping with sex?
That's right.
They're trying to access what God had intended to be
so
this
good,
absolutely out-of-body spiritual experience.
Yes.
And so it's like this very marred, broken echo
Yeah.
that it's supposed to be that.
Yep.
Another local pastor calls it the mingling of the souls.
Yeah.
You can only do that when you take it to a spiritual place.
That's exactly
Yes,
right.
yes.
And you have to have a foundation of spiritual intimacy already there before you go into the bedroom and
Yeah.
start taking off your clothes.
That's exactly
That's
right.
right.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
That's right.
You have to be very selfless.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like the essence of that point is about.
Yeah.
Is that when a man plus a woman plus marriage comes
Equals.
together, it equals
God's
the
image.
image of God.
Yeah.
There is no more beautiful picture
That's right.
that God has in the earth to see himself than when a man and a woman are intimate with each other in the confines of marriage.
And that was a beautiful point that you pointed out. You expressed it. You gave examples of what it shouldn't be, but it should be God, man plus woman plus marriage equals God's image.
It's God's image.
And that is the biblical truth.
That's right.
Jenna Mountain, thank you so much for being on our show today.
my
It
honor.
has been an absolute treat to have you.
Oh my
Thank you
gosh.
for your insight. Thank you
Yes.
for your words of wisdom.
You're amazing.
If any of you want to know more about where you can find Jenna Mountain, I just want to keep saying her name because it's really cool.
It's fun.
You can find her at the Aspen House, and that is House, H-O-U-S. Did I say that correctly?
H-A-U-S.
H-A-U-S. I
Yeah.
was close.
Yeah.
And we will have all of her information. It should be right up on your screen. But if you want to know more, know what her counseling center is about, read up on her, you can find her right there on that website listed on your screen. Timmy, thank you for joining us again.
I love you.
We have successfully wrapped up 9 weeks of this marriage series. And this week was Glorious Sex.
Glorious girl.
Thank you so much for joining us. It has been a treat. I know we didn't get to unpack every single solitary thing. I know that we didn't get to touch on every single solitary thing. But I want you to know that we are always still here. The resources are still here. I want you to make sure that you're going to Marriage Minute, that you're going to XO, that you are emailing care@embassycity.com. We have resources for you to continue on your therapy after the vows. And so I want you to know that you're not alone. Thank every one of you for writing in. Thank every one of you for sending in your questions and your comments. We are still praying for you. Like I said earlier, we are going to have a show that we are just going to answer all the questions that we've missed. For those of you that are abroad, I mentioned it on a previous show, and you want to be in on a Zoom call, we're going to do that. We're still going to do all those things. We are just wrapping up the end of the series, but we are not wrapping up the end of this talk or this conversation. So I want you to know that for 9 weeks, we've loved you maritally. Before that, we've loved you holistically just because we do. And I want you to know now that we still love you and we are praying for you. Thank you so much for watching. I love you and God loves you.